Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Carl. Got my coffee with us this morning here. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a couple of California solutions that are out there. I've talked about some in the past. Another one that I wanted to look at today is the California Disregarded Limited Partnership, which is sort of a mouthful and sort of something interesting to wrap your mind around on how that works. In California, they actually have comments from the franchise board that a disregarded limited partnership is not subject to the $800 a year franchise tax, which is strange to say the least at this point. But, when working in California, that's kind of what you get. So it's one of those options that's out there. I don't think it's likely to stick around for a long period of time, but it is currently one of the options that's out there. So I want to talk a little bit about when it may be appropriate, what you should understand going in, as well as, is it the best solution for you? So number one is it is an option. Usually I would say we would look at that as an option for somebody who's doing, several flips a year or has several rental properties they want to use in that scenario, simply because it really requires a minimum of 3 California entities to facilitate appropriately, which is strange, I guess, in itself, because you're saying basically, you'd be looking at, I'd rather trade 3 California franchise taxes for 8, 10, 12, however many properties you would have there. So it's one of those things that's out there. So let's talk a little bit about the setup of a California limited partnership that's disregarded. Basically, the ultimate in order to facilitate this, the ultimate taxpayer has to be the same taxpayer on both the general partner side and limited partner side. So if I'm looking at, say, doing a flip, I would have my corporation, if I had a California corporation, set up as the limited partner. I would have an LLC owned by that corporation to function as the general partner. And then our third entity would be that limited partnership, where that LLC owned by the corporation is the general partner and the limited partner is directly the corporation. That way, the corporation is technically the taxpayer from the general partner side, as well as the taxpayer from the limited partner side, which then functions like a disregarded entity. So it's one of those pieces that's a little bit strange, but that's how you would have it set up if you wanted to take advantage of that disregarded limited partnership. Now, like I said, it's not my favorite strategy in California just because I don't think it will be around for that long. California sort of has a long history of stepping around things that don't have to pay the franchise tax and then all of a sudden making them pay the franchise tax. So what I would look at, actually, if I wanted to say future proof, if I'm going in now as new to look to future proof, I'd probably look at that Wyoming Statutory Trust. There's lots of videos on it, several by Clint Coons with Anderson, and look at that as a sort of a longer term solution for California investing. It's one of those ones that's been around. The trust functions almost like a business entity in California. It's set up in Wyoming, so there's some additional protection there, and California recognizes it as well. So it's probably a longer term, better way to go. The only other thing I'd like the sort of the consistent or go-to strategy has also been the land trust to the Wyoming LLC as beneficiary. It's worked for years. There's nothing wrong with it. So if you're thinking about moving to Wyoming statutory trusts, what I would look at is there a catalyst to do so? Are you still building on? Is there a reason to change your portfolio over to that? If there is, great. Then yeah, I would use the Wyoming statutory trust. If not, there's nothing wrong with your Wyoming land trust your land trust to the Wyoming LLC scenario, if that's what you're using. But just bears to mention, I know we do get folks who start getting nervous if there was something we've changed or something we now prefer. Like I said, my preference is if somebody's starting brand new today or moving forward today, Wyoming Statutory Trust is a great tool to use. I like it. However, if you have several properties already in your portfolio with land trusts, with Wyoming as beneficiaries, you're fine. Unless there's some sort of catalyst or reason you want to switch over, I don't know that you'd have to, but what you may do is moving forward, use Wyoming statutory trusts. It's not going to hurt your portfolio, not going to hurt your overall entity structure. But if you do want to move to the newer item we know works well, then you can too. So basically, that's it for this episode of Coffee with Carl. We talk a little bit about the disregarded limited partnership in California. Like I said, I sort of think it's a limited time sort of item to use. Just be aware it's not appropriate in all aspects. So if you've only got one, or maybe if you got one or two properties in California, may not make sense because, like I said, you're really looking at a minimum of those 3 business entities in California. Basically the tax-paying entity, especially if you're doing something like high-end flips in California, you'd be looking at your corporation, an LLC owned by your corporation, and then a limited partnership that's owned by the corporation and the LLC owned by the corporation, so that you tick the boxes of the taxpayers the same from both owners' perspectives, limited and general partner. So I know a little bit confusing on the disregard limited partnership. We can help you through it if you need it. If you're not an Anderson client already, I suggest everybody give us a call and you can get a free consultation. We're not going to charge you for the consultation, and we'll just let you know what we think would probably work best in your entity structure. If you are an Anderson client, chances are you're a platinum member. If you're a platinum member, you're always welcome to talk to our professional staff, and we can, especially the attorneys, we're able to hop on a call with you, usually same day at this point, and we'll be able to help you through any of your issues. So until next time, please keep taking advantage of all of our free content out there, and we will catch you on the next episode of Coffee with Carl. Thanks, everybody.